If your partner walked out tomorrow, would your life continue or would it unravel? If one income disappeared overnight, how long would your current lifestyle survive? Are you building a future together or building a system that only works as long as both of you remain exactly where you are? I didn't ask myself those questions during a fight. I asked them on an ordinary evening when nothing felt unstable. That's what made them powerful. There was no emotional trigger, no dramatic tension, just a quiet realization that I had never tested the structure underneath my relationship. We talk endlessly about communication, trust, loyalty, shared vision, but we rarely test the financial architecture holding those things up. Disruption feels hypothetical until it isn't. Job markets shift, health changes, burnout happens. People grow in different directions. And when that moment comes, whatever financial structure you built becomes exposed. The deeper issue isn't individual irresponsibility, it's systemic design. Modern relationships are often built around combined earning power. Housing costs have expanded to match dual incomes. Lifestyle expectations have adjusted upward. Fixed obligations quietly rise to the ceiling of what two people can carry together. That means many households aren't structured for resilience, they're structured for continuity. Dual income households feel strong because everything runs smoothly, but smooth operation at full capacity is not strength, it's tight calibration. The mortgage works because both salaries exist. The car payment works because it's split. The subscriptions feel negligible because they're diluted across two incomes. Every decision feels reasonable in isolation. Collectively, they create a life that requires both people to remain financially productive at all times. And when a system requires perfect continuity, it becomes fragile. This is not a small issue affecting a handful of couples. It is widespread. Financial stress consistently ranks among the top sources of relationship conflict, not because people are greedy, but because the structure beneath them leaves little room for error. When there is no margin, even minor disruption feels existential. Money doesn't have to destroy relationships, but poorly designed financial architecture amplifies tension until it leaks into everything else. Who gets affected and why it hurts? When I finally ran the numbers, I stopped looking at our income and started looking at mine alone. What would rent look like on one paycheck? Could I carry insurance, debt, utilities, transportation without help? How long would savings last if every fixed cost landed on my shoulders at once? The answers weren't catastrophic, they were revealing. Our lifestyle was optimized for two earners. Remove one and the system tightened immediately. Not collapse, but compression. Margin disappeared, options narrowed, flexibility shrank. It wasn't dramatic, it was suffocating. The kind of pressure that doesn't explode, it lingers. That's when I understood something most couples never examine. Coordination is not the same as resilience. Just because a system works smoothly under perfect conditions doesn't mean it can survive stress. The first group deeply affected by this dynamic is the high-functioning dual-income couple. These are the couples who look like they've figured it out. Strong combined income, mortgage approved at the upper end of their qualification range, 2 financed vehicles, structured monthly investments, vacations planned 6 months out. Everything looks intentional. But look closer at the math. Their fixed costs are often calibrated to maximum earning capacity. The house was chosen because both salaries justified it. The school district made sense because both incomes covered the premium. The lifestyle expanded gradually with every raise. Each step felt reasonable at the time. No one announced, "Let's build fragility." It happened incrementally. If one income stops, the remaining partner doesn't gently recalibrate. They absorb the full weight of obligations designed for two. Mortgage payments don't adjust. Insurance premiums don't care. Debt schedules don't pause. The stress isn't emotional at first, it's arithmetic, and arithmetic doesn't negotiate. That arithmetic pressure quickly translates into emotional strain. Resentment can surface, not because someone failed morally, but because the structure demands more than one person can sustainably provide. Fear enters. Conversations change tone. Small disagreements become charged because the cost of instability is now measurable. The second group affected is couples with income gaps. When one partner earns significantly more, the household calibrates upward. The standard of living reflects the higher income. The lower earner adapts: better housing, more travel, more discretionary spending, broader social expectations. While everything is stable, it feels equitable. After all, they're sharing a life. But structurally, it creates asymmetry. One person's earning power may be far above their independent survival number. The others may sit far below it. That gap doesn't just exist on paper, it shapes behavior. It influences who feels replaceable and who feels anchored. It subtly alters negotiation dynamics. It affects career flexibility. The higher earner may feel pressure to stay in a demanding role because the household depends on that income. The lower earner may feel pressure to tolerate dissatisfaction because their independent exit capacity is limited. Neither dynamic is healthy. Both are structural. It also affects psychological safety. When lifestyle depends on someone else's income, even unconsciously, independence shrinks. Disagreements carry financial consequences. Risk-taking feels dangerous. The relationship begins to carry economic weight that extends beyond emotion. The third group affected includes stay-at-home or partially dependent partners. Often this arrangement is intentional and values-driven. One partner focuses on caregiving, household management, or flexibility. It can be a powerful and meaningful choice. But economically, time away from income compounds. Skills can drift. Professional networks thin. Retirement contributions may slow or stop. Re-entry becomes more difficult the longer the gap persists. If disruption occurs through separation, illness, or unexpected change, the financial adjustment can be severe, not just because of lost income, but because of lost earning trajectory. That creates deep anxiety. It also influences relationship dynamics long before any disruption happens. When one person's independence erodes over time, the emotional weight inside the partnership increases. There's also a fourth, less discussed group, couples already stretched thin. Rising housing costs, student loans, childcare expenses, healthcare uncertainty. Even moderate incomes can feel insufficient when fixed obligations expand relentlessly. These couples aren't living extravagantly, they're surviving. For them, dual income isn't a growth strategy, it's a necessity. In that environment, burnout becomes common. Exhaustion replaces ambition. Conversations about money become loaded because there is no slack in the system. When margin is absent, every unexpected expense feels like a threat. Every career shift feels risky. Every disagreement feels amplified. Across all these scenarios, the common thread is simple: fixed obligations growing faster than individual earning power. When your lifestyle depends on uninterrupted dual income, you're not just sharing love, you're sharing exposure. Exposure increases tension. Tension increases sensitivity. Sensitivity makes normal disagreements feel heavier than they should. It changes how people argue. It changes how they plan. It changes how safe they feel taking risks. It changes how secure they feel expressing dissatisfaction. It changes how long they tolerate imbalance. Money becomes the silent variable influencing every decision. Not because people are obsessed with wealth, but because the structure they built leaves little room for disruption. And when there's no room for disruption, fear quietly becomes part of the relationship. That's why this issue hurts so deeply. It's not just about numbers, it's about autonomy, leverage, flexibility, dignity, and long-term security. When those are uncertain, emotional stability follows. Redesigning for strength instead of fragility. So I calculated something uncomfortable: my independent survival number. the minimum monthly amount required to maintain housing, food, insurance, transportation, and basic stability on my own, not the comfort version of my life, the structural version. Then I compared that number to my income alone. That ratio told me more about my real security than any joint financial statement ever had. Here's the distinction that changed everything for me. Visible wealth and structural strength are different metrics. A couple earning $10,000 a month with $9,000 in fixed costs looks prosperous. A single person earning $6,000 with $3,500 in fixed costs has margin. Margin buys time. Margin absorbs disruption. Margin creates freedom. Without margin, even high income becomes fragile. Once I saw that, I started redesigning quietly. I filtered new expenses through one question. If I had to carry this alone, would it still make sense? If the answer was no, I reconsidered, not out of fear, but discipline. I shifted emergency savings from household months to solo months. I focused on keeping my personal earning capacity ahead of my fixed obligations. I reduced costs that only worked in a dual income assumption. Nothing dramatic, just structural adjustments. And something unexpected happened. The relationship felt lighter. When you know you can survive independently, you stay because you want to, not because the math traps you. Career decisions feel less suffocating. Conflict feels less existential. Partnership becomes additive rather than necessary for survival. The solution isn't paranoia. It isn't emotional withdrawal. It's structural clarity. Keep fixed costs growing slower than your earning capacity. Maintain skills and income streams that stand on their own. Build reserves based on solo math. Let shared income enhance your life, not hold it up. Because the real question isn't whether your partner will leave. It's whether your structure can withstand change without erasing your stability. A relationship built on two capable individuals choosing each other feels fundamentally different from one built on two incomes required to survive. One is strength, the other is coordination. If your partner left tomorrow, would your life adjust or collapse? Your answer isn't about love. It's about architecture. If this conversation challenged you, watch our related breakdown titled "Money is Killing 90% of Relationships." It expands on how financial design, not just emotion, is quietly driving tension in modern couples, especially in dual-income households. Subscribe to the channel and continue with that video next, because if you understand the structure, you can change the outcome.